Well, welcome to Paris Paranormal. I'm Terry Keel, and April is out tonight. She's out of town, so we wish her the best and safety coming home. She'll be with us next week. But you know, this is the place you can come and ask questions every week, get answers, and find out what's been going on when you hear those bumps in the night that scare you. And I'm really glad that you're here. I've got a fun-filled night planned for you because tonight we have the Dewster back. That's right. Dewey Edwards is back with us. And a little bit about Dewey. You know, he was born and raised in Robertson County, Tennessee, and he's married to his childhood sweetheart, Dolores, for 52 years. And he's got 3 daughters and 5 grandchildren, and he's a paranormal investigator and founder of Cryptids and Critters Paranormal. He's a researcher and author of 10 books that we'll talk about in a little bit. Then he's got a new one that's exceedingly interesting, and we will be talking about that in just a little bit. It's called 12 O'Clock High. And I have ghost written and published, he says, 3 other books as well. So he really is an accomplished writer. His hobbies include ghost hunting, cryptid and paranormal research and investigations, handguns, fishing, genealogy, old cemetery documentation and restoration, and writing historical newspaper and magazine articles. And Dewey Edwards is going to share with us so much about this new book and other things that he's got that are very interesting. So I will be welcoming him in just a moment. And if you are a listener tonight and you would like to ask questions, you can write them in and we'll try to get to you. If we can't get to you, we'll give you his information so you can reach out to him. But do know that we do want to hear from you, so reach out to us as well and let us know who you'd like for us to bring on to our next show. So email us at hauntedparis@usa.com. And we're also on Facebook at Paris Paranormal, and you can also find us on YouTube on our Enigmatic Anomalies channel at youtube.com at Enigmatic Anomalies. If you'd like to see someone featured here, reach out to us. We've got a really great month planned for you. So without any further ado, I will say, let's go ahead and bring on Dewey. And of course, his friends are allowed to call him the Dewster, so I want to call him the Dewster. Welcome back.
Welcome. I'm glad to be here. Very glad to be.
Yes. So tell us all about this new book, 12 O'Clock High.
Okay, I got involved in this several years ago. I used to work in Franklin, Kentucky, and never knew about this plane crash until just a few years ago. And I drove by the crash site probably 3 or 4, 5 or 6 times, a month, and didn't realize, it was there.
Oh, wow.
And I got to do a little research on it. And last January 7th, we had a Captain Thomas Mantell Jr. Day, Memorial Day in Franklin, Kentucky. And it was the first one. And we had a great presentation. They had 3 of the witnesses there that actually witnessed the plane crash, and they some of them lived there, right next door to the crash. And it kind of got me started on it. I met a couple of Mantell's grandsons, and in fact, they did the forwards for both my books, for this 12 O'Clock High, and also the previous book, Eye in the Sky. They did the forwards, both of those. I touched base on the Mantell case. Well, I didn't touch base. It's probably half of the book. It's over 100-something pages just on the Mantell. And I thought, I'm wanting to, expound on this a little more, and see what I can find. So.
And this is all about UFOs, correct?
Right.
Okay.
UFOs, yes.
I like it.
Yes. Captain Mantell was a celebrated World War II hero. He flew on a D-Day on Normandy. He flew a C-47. And he was actually towing gliders over, and then launch, turn them loose over the combat zone.
Right.
One trip he made, the last trip he made in a C-47, he got hit by enemy fire, took the back, almost half of the back of the plane off.
Oh
They
my
broke his
goodness.
control cables to the rear of the plane. The plane was on fire. And there he was trying to maintain this plane while all this was going on. And all the time pulling a glider behind him, full of
Oh
full of
my
men,
goodness.
stuff.
That's frightening.
Yes. As they got closer to the drop zone, he got to thinking, what's going to happen? I'm using this drag of this glider to kind of control the plane with, and what's going to happen when I do release this glider? What's going to happen? But he did. He released the glider. It landed where it should have, and he made it back to base. And the miracle was trying to get it landed again because, like I said, half of the wing on the left side of the plane was gone. The whole tail section was gone. And when he did get landed and they come out and inspected the plane, they declared it unflyable. There's no way it could have flown back by itself like it did, So he got the Distinguished Flying Cross, that. He got 7 or 8 more medals,
Well deserved.
Got a list of them.
Yeah.
A lot of medals. And he was a highly decorated, he wasn't just a crop duster,
Yes.
Anyway, he loved flying. As a child, he had these little model planes hanging from his ceiling, his bedroom, and he just loved flying. And when he got out, he still had the love of flying in his blood, so he formed his own flight school, and he taught a few people to fly up around Louisville. And but anyway, after he had his flight school, he still wasn't flying enough, so he joined when they formed the Kentucky Air National Guard. He was one of the first ones to join, and that's where he got to fly the every American boy's dream, the P-51 Mustang. And he was he was training pilots how to fly in that and everything, and just doing normal National Guard duty and stuff. And on January the 6th, 1948, Captain Mantell, I've got their names wrote down here. Captain Mantell, Robert Kenneth Hendricks, First Lieutenant Albert William Clements, and Second Lieutenant Buford Allen Hammond flew down to Marietta, Georgia, to bring back these 4 planes that had been grounded for bad weather down there. Now, how the planes got down there, who took them there, I have no idea. I haven't found anybody that has that information available to me yet. I'm still looking for it. But they flew down, spent the night. The next morning, they got up. The crew they carried with them had a bunch of aircraft mechanics, engineers with them, and they went over the planes real good, make sure they were flyable. And then later on that day, they got airborne back to Louisville, Kentucky, to Standerford Air Force Base. And that's what they were doing. They were flying back when this UFO was spotted at Fort Knox. And as they were approaching the Fort Knox, the tower, the air traffic controller told them, if they didn't mind to go check this UFO out, that they'd been seeing it. There was, I think, 4 generals, several colonels, several big people up there in the tower that witnessed this thing and could not identify it.
Okay.
And I got all kind of different descriptions of what this thing looked like. Everybody described it differently.
Really? Okay.
Most of them described it as being like an upside down ice cream cone with a red tip on it, So
oh my heavens, that is very unique.
Weird description.
Yes.
But there were several people that had seen it. Some of them had seen a lot of them going around the Air Force bases and traveling over 10,000 miles per hour, just from one side of the base back and forth to the other. But anyway, they, Sergeant Blackwell, he got a hold of Captain Mantell on radio and told him they had been seeing this unidentified object and wondered if he had enough gas, and if he did, would they go investigate it? So he took off. He took off with Lieutenants Clements and Hammond. The other one, Hendricks, didn't have enough fuel, so he flew on back to Louisville. He flew on back to base. But anyway, Mantell, he took off. He had the best. He had, I guess, the fastest plane. This P-51 Mustang had a Rolls Royce Packard Merlin V12 engine, and it would develop 1,695 horsepower at 3,000 RPM.
Cream of the crop.
Yeah. It had 1,649 cubic inches, V12, the best piston engine ever built, supposedly.
Oh my goodness.
Anyway, it had a 2-stage supercharger on it. The second supercharger kicked in when it reached altitude of 1,500 feet. That would put enough oxygen into the engine until it run like it should at that high elevation.
Right.
But anyway, he took off after it. His 2 wingmen, Clements and Hammonds, were with him, and he just outdistanced them. They couldn't keep up with him, and so he gets close to it, and he radios back and tells them, that it is. There's several conflicting stories on what was said on the radio transmissions. None of it was recorded. All we have is kind of word of mouth,
Right,
right. It says it was very large and it was metallic, and he was trying to intercept it, but so far it was going off and leaving him. And then the other ones had trouble, catching up with him. When they finally caught up with him, somebody asked what they were chasing, and he told them, look at 12 o'clock high. When they looked up, that's where I got the name of the book, 12 o'clock high.
Very good.
So they actually saw it and asked what it was, and he said, I don't know. He says, I know it's large, and they got it close. And one of the transmissions say that he actually said he saw people in it. He had like an observation tower on top, and he could see people in it. That's kind of that's just the testimony is kind of different because we have no proof of what he said.
Right, but he is giving you other information which is quite accurate.
Right. Yeah, he's describing it. He goes up to 20,000 feet, and his wingmen turn back. Now I don't know if I'm still trying to find the details on that too.
Okay.
Why they turned back? Some say that he sent them back for hot guns, go back and get their guns loaded to come back. So he's ready. He's ready for a dogfight.
Yeah, that might not have been good.
And some say they just got too high. They couldn't go high enough. They didn't have any oxygen.
Yeah.
These P-51 Mustangs. Only one of them was equipped with oxygen, and that was the one that Lieutenant Clements was flying.
Okay.
He had oxygen, but his bottle was empty.
Oh.
So anyway, they got scared. Clements and Hammond got scared, and went back to get oxygen. No, they were going too high. Mantell went up to, they say, 30,000 feet. They say he blacked out about 20,000 feet or something like that for no oxygen.
Right.
And that's when he leaned forward and hit the controls on the plane. When he slumped forward, and it pushed it into a deep nosedive.
Yeah.
And the witnesses say it was screaming down into the earth, And the object they had seen was seen around Franklin at that time too. It was a big orange glowing ball, like a ball of fire,
Was this also connected to the UFO? So it was a separate ball?
I don't know if it was a separate one or if it was what he was chasing. Now, what he was chasing was pretty high in elevation. Of course, when after the crash, Project Blue Book got involved in it. I think it was Project Sign at the time, Project Grudge, and then Project Sign, and then it went to Blue Book later on. And the first thing they said was he was chasing Venus. It was Venus he was seeing and described it. It's what they described as being what he was after. Then they said it was a full moon.
Oh boy.
Then they finally come up with and it was a chasing Venus for like maybe a year and a half or 2 years. Then finally they debunked that. Then they finally said it was a weather balloon.
Right, of course.
It was a new skyhook weather balloon they had just developed, top secret. Nobody knew about it supposedly.
Right, because it didn't
exist. What they would do, they would inflate it just partially and let it go, and then as it went higher and the atmospheric pressure got lower, the balloon would get larger and larger. It would reach over 100 feet across with it topped. But anyway, said he went up too high, blacked out, brought his plane down. Every newspaper article and everything I have read about it said the plane exploded. I have debunked that. The plane did not explode.
Right.
It was a loud noise. It sounded like an explosion.
Okay.
And it was either one of two things or both of these things.
Okay.
When he was coming down, this plane, he's coming down and it's in free air, running straight down, wide open.
Mm-hmm.
He more likely broke the sound barrier.
Right.
It was a sonic boom.
Right. Mm-hmm. That would make sense.
Mm-hmm. The P-51 Mustang wasn't designed to go that fast. They said reaching, I think, Mach 0.8, that the tail section began to vibrate so bad that it would just come off the plane. It would just jar the rivets out of it and come off.
Sure. Mm-hmm.
So one or two things happened. He either hit Mach 1, he heard a sonic boom. The tail section did break off this plane before it crashed. So
Okay.
that's one indicator.
Uh-huh.
And something else, when the second thing, I think the engine was what exploded. So, excuse me.
Sure.
My throat's been dry for a couple of days. They're harvesting soybeans and corn and all this dust in the air. It's tearing me up. There we go. Now, wash the cobwebs out.
There you go.
Anyway, he's coming down, plane's in free air, props running, pulling him down faster. It reaches, terminal velocity, and I think what happened is that the engine blew up. Is what they heard. I've got several. Excuse me. I got several little bits of evidence that point to that.
Uh-huh.
One thing, when they hit, the first thing they said, there was smoke coming out of the engine, and there was motor oil on top of the engine, which tells me something come apart.
Right, it exploded. Something happened. Right.
But
that makes perfect sense.
Right. Mm-hmm. The thing that stands out to me was at the plane crash, you figured a propeller. You've got four blades on the propeller. It's attached to the cone. After the crash, the propeller blade at 12 o'clock was sticking straight up. The one at 3 o'clock and 9 o'clock were broke off and laying beside the plane.
Okay.
They couldn't find the other prop blade until they lifted the plane up. When they lifted the plane up, put it on a truck, it was still attached to the cone, and it was down in the ground. In other words, when it hit, it come down like this. Pancake when it hit.
Yes. Makes sense.
The propeller blade at 6 o'clock went down into the ground, still attached to the prop.
Yikes.
So when they lifted it up, there's like a 5-foot blade coming out of the ground.
Yep. Yeah.
That tells me that engine was not running when that plane hit the ground, because it would have sheared all 4 blades off of it. If it
right. Right. So, it had already quit. Right. Mm-hmm.
Yeah. So anyway, way I understand it, the crash was horrific. That it just his body was defined as being just everything his body together was his flight suit.
Oh dear.
The undertaker that did the autopsy said that it was nothing but like a bag of mush. Just every bone was shattered.
Yes.
So it had been a pretty hard hit.
Yeah.
There was several things that kind of, as far as the UFO part of it. I checked there was a piece of the plane at the at the Simpson County Historical Society. There's a little piece of the plane about maybe a 6-inch circle of the plane. I took my Geiger counter up there one day.
What'd you get?
I got almost 60-something counts, 62 counts per minute.
Wow.
Off that one piece. And that was a foot away from it inside a glass display case.
Wow. And this has been a while.
So evidently, something radioactive had contaminated the plane.
Right.
There was reports that it had bullet holes in it, but I hadn't seen anything to prove or disprove that either. But we went out to the we went out to the crash site. A guy named Billy Wilkerson that works at the History Center. He has a ground penetrating radar. We went to the crash site and we actually found it using the radar.
Oh, that's
And also,
wonderful.
and the reports that we read said that they put the plane on a truck and took it out to the road. They had to cut the fence and had to cut a few trees to get it to make a to get out to the field.
Mm-hmm.
We did use the radar and we did find the ruts. The ruts weren't visible to the eye, but the radar did pick out where the ruts were at.
Yep.
And
I
they were
believe
about
it.
the right distance apart to be the truck wheels of like a like a 6x6 truck, army truck.
Right.
And we did find where the fence had been cut and replaced with another type of fence. And there's old growth trees either side of where they cut, and everything else is young growth. So so we did find exactly where the crash site was at,
Mm-hmm.
and the way they got in and out. We're gonna go back. We did find out that most of the material was 3 feet underground, and that was what they did when they took the plane out. They just pitched all the scrap they didn't want to fool with. Excuse me, and just pitched it in the hole,
Mm-hmm.
and then covered it up with a bulldozer.
Oh my goodness. Yeah, and I'm sure that did react to a Geiger counter. I'm sure it did.
So we Billy approached. He's known the couple that owns the farm for a long time. He approached him about doing an excavation, and I thought, sure, they won't let that happen, But they agreed.
Can't hurt to ask.
They want us to. We're going to get a mini excavator up there and do some excavating. I built a couple of sifter boxes to use to sift the dirt with and everything. So,
Oh, that is amazing.
hopefully-
When will that
hopefully
happen?
well, that's what I'm working on now.
Okay.
It's hard to get everybody together.
Yeah.
Small Town Monsters wants to be there when we do this. They want to film it for the documentary.
That's nice.
Billy wants at least one of the Mantell brothers there on site when we do it, And I'm trying to coordinate all this stuff, between Small Town Monsters and the Mantell brothers,
Mm-hmm.
and me and Billy both. We're trying to get all this, lined up.
Right. How interesting.
And so far,
Mm-hmm.
and we haven't come up with a good date yet.
Uh-huh.
We were hoping to do it maybe the week after Christmas.
Uh-huh.
Because one of the Mantell boys is he's a school teacher,
Mm-hmm.
and that's the only time he would have to do it, unless we wait
Right,
till spring
yeah.
break to do it.
Yes. That
Yeah,
makes
maybe
sense
it
as
all
well.
Depends on what the weather is going to be like too. We can't go out there and dig it. The ground is going to be froze hard.
Well,
Can't
and
do it
it
if it's
probably
raining,
would be, wouldn't it, at that time of
Probably
year,
would.
January, yeah.
And so it may be springtime before we do that. But we're definitely going to do it for sure.
That is amazing.
But,
So more to come.
oh yeah. This is just the
Much
start
more to
of it.
come. Another book.
Oh yeah. That could be number 10. That could be number 11.
There you go.
But,
Oh
but
my goodness.
I've researched all the files.
Uh-huh.
I made several trips to the Franklin, Kentucky.
Mm-hmm.
This crash site is only about 11 miles across the field as a crow flies from where I live now. So it's not that long a trip.
That's wonderful. You have an advantage of being that
Yeah.
close. And
Yeah.
usually, Dewey,
I have
whenever
been a,
whenever
a
there's I'm sorry, go ahead.
go ahead.
Well, I was going to say, whenever there's been something like that happen, there's usually something else will show up in that area. There's a reason, that they come back, and
Right.
it's Kentucky is very prevalent. They have quite a few monthly reports there, so it would be very interesting to see what shows up, especially between now and then when you
Yes,
go
exactly.
back. Mm-hmm.
Exactly. Now, I've got real close to Captain Mantell. I mean, he's almost like a family member to me.
Oh, how wonderful!
I have researched all of this stuff.
Mm-hmm.
I felt like I know him,
Mm-hmm.
And I went to the crash site the first time, and it was it was very emotional for me. I mean, very emotional.
I bet it was. That's
I sat out
just
there in the
such a
truck for a while and just sat there and just cried. I couldn't help it.
yes,
It was very emotional.
horrible thing that
You,
happened.
you get attached to somebody or something like that, you know.
You do, right?
But he was only 25 years old.
Gosh,
So he was a highly decorated
so
pilot.
young.
Uh,
Yeah.
and the ironic part of it is he was born in Franklin, Kentucky,
Uh-huh.
in 1922, and he died there. He died in Franklin, Kentucky.
Gosh.
But he never lived in Franklin. That was the weird part.
Oh my
His parents
goodness. Yeah.
They lived up close to Bowling Green,
Mm-hmm.
and they were close to Franklin visiting some friends. And his mother, she went into labor, and they went to the nearest hospital, which happened to be the Southern Hospital in Franklin, Kentucky.
Oh my goodness. Look at that.
I did find some pictures of the old hospital at the Historical Society that I put in the book.
Uh-huh.
But I went through all the files, everything we had. I made a bunch of trips up there.
Mm-hmm.
And I said, you know what I need to do probably is just pay y'all to go ahead and just make me copies of everything in this file. And I'll just pay you for it. And then, it'll save me some trip and save y'all some trouble too.
Mm-hmm.
He said, well, tell you what, let's do. What if we just scan them and put them on a flash drive for you? So he scanned them for me. I put them on a flash drive, and I have the whole complete Mantell file on my computer over here.
Oh, that's awesome.
I go in, but I have all the Project Blue Book files, everything I can find.
Mm-hmm.
Every newspaper article, every witness account, every newspaper article, magazines,
Mm-hmm.
eyewitness accounts.
Oh,
every
that's very
photo
impressive.
And it's just I don't know how to describe it, but it's a labor of love.
Yes, yes, obviously, and
He
bravo
needs
to you for doing
to
it.
get his story out.
Uh-huh.
And but he was only he didn't. I think he was almost 20 when he joined the Army Air Corps, and I think about 6 months after World War II started.
Oh my God.
He joined, like I said, he went into flight, graduated from flight school about a year later, and he flew a plane called Vulture's Delight. And that was the one that he got wrecked so bad, on that last flight he made in it.
Mm-hmm.
And but like I said, on January the 6th, when they went down to Dobbins Airfield in Marietta, Georgia, to bring those 4 planes back. And I've wondered about that. That's another thing that I'd like to find out.
Uh-huh.
I don't know if those planes were actually assigned to each individual, pilot, or if they just picked one when they got there,
Oh, interesting. Uh-huh.
I don't know if he had ever flown that plane before, if any of them, I don't know if any who dropped those planes off, but I know they picked them up. Him and his wingman Hammonds, when they left Marietta, Georgia, and then the other 2 come up behind them again in formation. And when they got back to Louisville, is the wingman Hendricks had to go back because he didn't have enough fuel. So Clements and Hammond are the ones that accompanied him.
Now,
but what if he had got the plane that Clements got? Clements' plane was equipped with oxygen.
you had mentioned also, and I'm just trying to figure this out. Did he have ammunition that he might have been using, Mantell, against the UFO?
That's what I'd love to when we dig into this excavation.
Mm-hmm.
I would love to find
because Dewey,
Mustang.
One of the things you don't want to do with a UFO is shoot at it. Their technology is so far beyond ours,
Right.
and if you lock on to them, it's almost like a death sentence for you.
Yeah.
Because I don't care if you're in a Mach whatever, or what you're driving, flying. that is a challenge to an extraterrestrial being, and they are not going to lose that challenge. They don't lose those challenges. So I don't know, maybe at that point, since it was so long ago, we didn't know that for certain. But they're basically peaceful until we start getting the guns out. So, you know, I've always told people, please, don't use lasers, don't shoot at them. You know, come in peace.
It was exactly 6 months after Roswell.
Yes, right.
You know, so you know, people still had this UFO, you know, thing, fear in their mind.
Yes.
But they, like I said, you know, they flew up, went too high, crashed the plane. Did this is Clements went back to get. He went back and then got another oxygen tank and filled his tank up and flew back in search of Captain Mantell.
Right.
He never could find him. He never could see any signs of him or anything. So he turned around and came back. And I don't know if Hammond. I don't know what it don't mention Hammond anymore as far as his you know, if he went back or whatever.
Right. But he would certainly have that information at hand that you know, what Mantell was equipped with and what he may have been doing, because they would have been talking back and forth to each other before he retrieved. Right.
Now, the Blackwell, who was the sergeant at Fort Knox, he swears that he heard Mantell say that he's sending them back for hot guns. He asked for hot guns, which means
he didn't have one.
If he had to, you know. And that was his plane may have been equipped with them. I don't know. He didn't go back, but he sent them back. So maybe he was equipped and they weren't.
Yeah. And he needed backup and he knew it. Well, it would have been futile. I mean, what we know, I am a certified field investigator, and what I know about ufology and UFOs is we don't really stand a chance against them. Exactly. That technology is higher than what we're able to deal with. But, you know, it's such a shame that it was after Roswell and there was so much disinformation coming out. There wasn't enough actual information coming out so that this would have given these men an advantage. It's almost as if they were at a disadvantage because they said Roswell was a balloon, which it clearly was not. And, you know,
Roswell was not a balloon.
Oh, absolutely. And Roswell, different ones that were there, you know, had taken, unbeknownst to the military, some of the crash material. And you could take it right in your hand. It was metal, and you could squeeze it, and it would pop right straight back to metal. Well, you don't do that with metal that we do here.
No,
so, I mean, that
don't.
is technology above our understanding. So, I am so interested in this case, and I can't stand behind you enough to help in any way I can to look into some of this with you, if you'd like, even. And just interesting.
Yeah, there's several things that I've been trying to figure out. I'm not gonna never figure out where the plane went after it was
where they
taken
took
off the
it.
field.
Yeah, well, it went to the military, so the closest military.
I did find a report that said that the engine went to Wright-Patterson.
Yeah, there you go. That makes perfect sense for that time.
So evidently, the engine and the rest of the plane evidently went there too, I would think.
I would think. I'm pretty sure. I mean, back in that day, it was very limited understanding and knowledge that they had. And because Roswell had happened, I'm pretty sure Wright-Patterson would have been where they were headed.
Oh, yeah, without a doubt. It wasn't that far away either.
Right.
Another thing that kind of bugs me about this is I found one article that said that it wasn't an official report, but it was an article somebody had written up that said he was buried in a lead-lined coffin, which was pretty much standard for a UFO encounter. So that's the first I'd heard about that.
And what's your take on that? What's your thinking on that, Dewey? Why would they have done that?
Exactly. Why would they put put somebody in a lead-lined coffin if they weren't looking for radiation or something.
Right.
That's what got me
Containing
to
the
check
radiation.
this
Yeah.
plain part to see, and it was slightly radioactive, but it's been 75 years, you know. So,
Right.
so, but in another article said he was not buried, that he was interred in cold storage for future investigation, like they put him in a freezer or something.
Right, sure, that's
You know,
cryo, yeah, yeah, that's very possible.
And maybe the lead-lined coffin was to add some weight to the coffin to where the people packing the coffin would think somebody was in it, maybe, you know.
Very possible.
There's several.
Lots of
there's
scenarios that could have been, you know, not necessarily known. The only one that would really know if he was in that coffin would have been his wife, but he wasn't married.
They would not let her.
He was married. Okay, so they wouldn't let her see his body?
You know how she found out this had happened? From her neighbors.
Oh.
The military never went to her house and told her that he had died in this plane crash. Her neighbors down the street come up and told her. You know, so they left the family plumb. The military left the family plumb out of all this. I mean, it's heartbreaking, you know, if they would do that, you know. I mean, this guy's a hero, you know.
Yes, he
They would do
is.
that. But I got a few more notes here.
That is horrifying.
Oh, it is. It is.
I didn't remember that about reading that. That's good that you brought that up. Gosh, that's horrible. What a terrible way at such a young age, a young wife, to find that out about the man she loves, and oh my goodness.
There was the family appeared on a, I think it was one of the channels. I think it was called Alien Endgame.
Okay.
Where the family actually met Sergeant Blackwell and talked to him. That's when he told them that he definitely asked for hot guns, and he definitely said there was people. He saw people in this thing. Of course, they're saying he went so high, he was low on oxygen, you know, and he was hallucinating. You know, that's another thing they say too. You know?
No, that wasn't a hallucination. Many, many, many reports say that people have seen extraterrestrials inside vehicles when there are windows or something like that. Even landed, I've seen a tall white. I won't go into that now, but we can talk about that another time, in a vehicle that was landed, in a craft that was landed. But it's, you know, it's not necessarily people, it's humanoids,
Right.
you know.
Right, exactly, yeah, yeah, exactly.
Yeah, but with his understanding, he may not have been able to get that across, you know. I mean, it's shocking. I mean, it's life-changing when you see these things. It changed me 100% when I had my experience. I went into my experience one person and came out of it a completely different and very much changed individual. So, I mean, here he was in the moment with it, you know, and had he tried to lock onto it, that would have been a sure death note for him, you know, I mean, so, but he didn't know that, you know, nobody was talking about those things back in that day. It was all new. It was not enough known information, so.
Yeah, there was a, oh, it's aggravating me. He'd turn it off, I guess. Yeah, there's several things that I have more questions than I have answers, you know, and I'm still searching for the truth.
Right.
Not going to be happy until I find it out, if I ever do or not.
Good for you. I like to hear that.
But there's you know, I don't know, there were several things I had wrote down that I was going to say something about, and I forgot what it was now. Anyway,
well, if anybody in our audience that's listening tonight has any questions, please write them down. Please put those in our chat, and we'll try to answer things for you tonight. This is such an interesting
Oh, it
story.
is. It really is.
It's very deep. And like you say, it's personal now because you're really heartfelt involved, you know. I get that way with everyone I do.
Yeah, he was the first person to lose his life in pursuit of a UFO. You know.
That's right, yeah.
Of course, they call them UAPs now, but they're still UFOs as far as I'm. As
They're
far as I'm,
UFOs, right. Either way.
right.
Right.
But it was like I said, it's like I said, all the testimony of all the witnesses. You know, the people in town saw it, and all of them described the plane like screaming down from 30,000 feet down to the ground. You know, and then of course supposedly, like I said, you know, they say it exploded, which it didn't. It was either a sonic boom or it's when the engine blew up on it. It was spinning out of control coming down. The fuel bladder that was in the cockpit behind the pilot landed about between a quarter and a half mile away from where the crash site is. Fuel section came off probably a couple 300 yards from where the plane crashed at. The right wing was laying off on the side. It had come completely off. So that's what I want to look for. If they weren't real picky about picking this stuff up, hopefully, if his plane he had hot guns, there ought to be some 50 caliber cartridges somewhere there at the crash site, you know, or pieces of one, you know. This P-51 Mustang had 6 50 caliber machine guns, 3 in each wing. And the older planes, they had to time them in with the propeller to keep shooting the props off the plane. But these, they finally got wise and moved the guns further outside the radius of the propeller. So, you know, they could fire without hitting the props.
Yeah, good thinking
But that
on their
wing
part.
coming off, like I said, the machine gun belts were inside the wing itself, where the guns were at. And there were 6 guns, there were 6 machine gun belts. So hopefully, if he was armed, I'd like to find the evidence of that. You know, to see, you know, if we could find like I said, a 50 caliber cartridge or something like that. You know, and by the wing coming off, surely one of those belts, you know, would have broke loose or something, and maybe you dislodged something. You know, that's something I'd like to find out. From other unanswered questions I've got, if he was actually armed or not. You know.
Right. I'm sure he was if those planes were, you know, if they had those guns.
Right.
Then he most likely was.
Yeah. It was during peacetime, so it may not have been, I don't know, but I wouldn't think they would send somebody off like that to investigate something like that or try to intercept something like that, not be armed.
Right. Yeah, they just didn't know any better back in that day. Today, you know, planes are flying, and even the MiGs and the UFOs are doing circles around them. It doesn't matter how fast those MiGs are going. The UFOs will outmaneuver the MiGs. So, and we're talking MiGs, okay? So look at the difference, you know, in the technology even that we have. And a lot of our technology is because of Roswell. We have so much information that we were able to glean from that crash, you know. But have we got something that you want to share with us in the production booth?
You talking to Kevin or?
Yes, yeah, I was just talking to Kevin. Did you want to come on and share that? Okay, so there is someone that Julie has shared that she is currently reading the book and highly recommends it to everybody. And I am elated to hear that. Thank you, Julie. I can't wait to get my hands on the book. I don't even have a copy yet. So I guess I have to sit back and wait for the next shipment to come in.
I have 25 copies on the way.
Oh, good. 25 copies are up and coming.
Overload them right off the bat. January the 6th of this next year is Captain Thomas Mantell Day in Franklin, Kentucky.
Oh, how wonderful.
I don't know if they've got anything planned yet or not. But I'm going to a historical society meeting Saturday night, actually.
Well, let's plan something for them.
I'm gonna see about maybe doing a book signing.
There you go. Yes, that would be fun. That would be really
all
fun.
Of it now until after this book signing. I want the first one to be sold in Franklin, Kentucky. You know what I mean?
Oh, how amazing. Oh my gosh, that would be epic.
But it's,
you should do that.
But, yeah,
oh
well,
my goodness.
We'll get you a copy, no problem. We'll get you a copy.
I definitely am going to be waiting for that because I love reading about these things, and although I'm not well versed on it at the moment, I know bits and pieces of what I've heard over the years from even other people, you know, and there's so many stories that I get involved with. It's impossible for me to, you know, take each and every one and you know, get real in depth with them, but boy, they are so interesting.
Yeah, this crash happened about, I think you said his watch stopped at something like 3:18 or something like that.
Oh, okay.
And that was about the same time.
AM or PM? That was a...
Is it PM? Is an after.
Right, okay.
That's about the same time that schools were letting out. There were local schools letting out.
Yeah.
There was a school right down the road from where the crash happened at Lake Springs. It's now, well, they made it, I think it's a community club now. The building is still standing. And, but they, well, I was going to say now. But anyway, the school was letting out, and then you have all these kids coming out to get on the school bus.
Oh my
God! And a lot of these kids see this, you know.
Yes.
And, but we've got 3 witnesses. 2 of them live there within 200 yards of where the plane crashed at.
Oh my
One
goodness!
Lived right across the field from it, and this guy ended up marrying one of the girl that lived in the house. So we're trying to get them. We're going to try to get them lined up and get them on the documentary.
Oh.
They're in their 80s right now.
Right. I was going to say they're probably somewhere in their 70s or 80s. But, right.
Last year, their minds were still clear and good and everything. They were getting around good. And shared all their stories with us and everything. You know, so hopefully, I need to go talk to them myself. I'm trying to get Seth to get up there maybe and go ahead and interview them before it gets too late. You know what I mean? You know, so. And so hopefully he'll get that done. But if he don't, I may just take my camera up there one day and just sit down and just talk to him. And
there you go. Talk to Kevin.
There's a few more questions they may have the answers to. I don't know.
Sure. Well, and you never know, you know, because that would have been a very traumatic experience, you know.
Oh, yes.
And the sound would have been very frightening for them. And the whole thing would have just probably been not a highlight in their life, but something that really stood out as a trauma. You know, it's not something you're going to ever forget. It's a once in a lifetime, hopefully, experience, you know.
Exactly.
Yeah.
Yeah, the Army sent out a crew. As soon as it happened, they got somebody en route. And they went to the scene, and first thing they told, the lady asked, you know, what happened? And why did he crash? And the first thing he said was he went too high and ran out of oxygen. Then they told him, they said he was chasing the planet Venus. So, you know, how does this guy know this? He just got dispatched there, you know.
Right.
Anyway,
he had been told what to say.
Yes. They were there for a day.
Yeah. That's an insult.
They went back, and then they call and wake up the lead crash investigator and send him down 24 hours later after this other crew has come in and done their thing and left. So what did that first crew do? I mean, you know, were they coming in and getting the site prepped up for an official investigation?
Absolutely.
What did they hide? What did they pick up? What did they pack off? You know, who knows?
Well, there was absolutely an investigation. You know, when something like that happens, our government isn't going to just allow the people to take over. They're going to come in and they're going to it off and
Right.
make it,
So you would think
you know.
somebody would go in and secure the scene,
Right, of
when the
course.
investigator got there,
Sure, and I'm sure they did.
The pictures I have, there's hundreds of people standing so close to the plane they can touch it. I mean,
That's very dangerous, actually, because if there was radiation there, many people have been burned. There have been people who have been close to, crafts, and they have had literally radiation burns on their body, and
Right.
later died of cancers from those
Yes.
burns. So that's another thing. I'm glad we're saying that, because to those people listening, if something ever did crash, and that's not impossible, near you, don't run up on it, and please don't touch anything.
Exactly.
Get your camera out maybe, and keep a safe distance. I'm so very grateful that in my experience, I was 200 feet, a little less than that, from the craft that had landed. I was taken aboard another craft. I've never had any issues with radiation poisoning or anything, but and I consider myself very blessed, because being on a second craft, I could have really been hurt.
Oh, yes.
And at the time that I saw mine, I had no clue that these things were dangerous, none whatsoever, but I did not approach it. So,
Right.
Well,
the same thing holds true with even like a car wreck,
Sure.
I worked a rescue squad and volunteer fire department for 30-something years, and went to all kind of automobile accidents and stuff, But you'd be surprised people walk up and just put their hand on a car. You can have a power line down,
Anything could happen.
or whatever,
Right.
and they're electrocuted just like that,
Sure. Or a gas leak and then it blows.
Right.
It's really very frightening. You do have to be careful. Yeah. So many things that we could share, but you don't want to scare people, but you want people to use common sense. Not that it's common sense, but don't rush up on anything that you are not completely sure of. And there's been so many different stories. Now, since that time, there have been many other crashes. And now we're a lot more informed about them. And I wouldn't run right up to one, that's for sure.
Oh, no,
I would keep my distance. I would use my camera.
Well, the UFO crash in Aurora, Texas,
Yes,
back in the 1890s or something like that. I think it was. Looking back on my source, they say that they hid parts of that, or pitched a lot of that craft down into that well, well that's at the cemetery, and people that had fooled with that well later on, their hands were all deformed where they got their hands in the water. Their hands were deformed with arthritis and all kind of stuff, so
That's
you
right.
never know what you're getting into,
That is radiation poisoning, yeah. And those are that's going to turn into a cancer of some sort in your body.
Right.
So, and that is a fact. It's well documented that many people have died from that because of those things, So, that's not something you ever want to mess with. And most field investigators today carry Geiger counters in their go bags because they don't want to be someplace where something has landed. And I strongly suggest you use yours and be very careful, because that's something that you got your Geiger counter there.
Go anywhere without mine.
Yeah, good for you. There you go.
It's in my backpack about all time, just about.
That's right.
But,
and don't go out in the woods or the LBL or anywhere else, without it. Yeah, hold it up for us, Dewey. Let's see that Geiger again. Bring it up one more time and show people what they look like. There you go. See if Kevin can. Where did you get yours?
I got mine off Amazon.
There you go.
They have one that's a little bit more complicated than this. It has more Geiger tubes in it, but for the budget, this does what I want it to do. I'm not, as long as I know it let me know I need to.
Do you know what the normal radioactive range levels are on that?
Not right off. I usually do a baseline study when I get there, when I get to the scene, and just take a normal reading and then see if it goes up or down.
And document, yeah, and just document it, yeah. So you're taking notes in the field. That's
it has
good.
a card with it where you can check it. I check mine with a smoke detector too. You know, you can check it. They got a little bit of the radiation to them too. You know.
Yeah, they do. Yeah.
Check it with it too. I don't go anywhere without that. So.
Gosh, what an interesting book and read this will be. And I definitely see a second book and possibly even a third because so much information still.
I did a lot of genealogy work too, as far as that. I have Captain Mantell's grandparents and his parents and their family history on there too. Both of those were they were war heroes, World War One, you know. And he married Peggy Mosley, and they had 2 children, Thomas Francis Mantell III and Terrell Lee Mantell. And I met his 2 grandsons. Think the world of them. They did great guys. And so hopefully I can get with them again, and we'll get this meet back at the crash site again, you know, and just kind of look everything over, and hopefully they'll be there for the excavation. I'm hoping so.
Oh, how wonderful! I hope so too. This sounds like it's just really going to be an awesome time for you, especially. You know, seriously, it'll be something that'll be a life. You know.
Yeah, we're gonna set up. We're gonna document everything.
Right.
I'm gonna set up a couple of high definition cameras up on tripods. You know.
Good.
And then Billy's gonna bring his. So we'll have 3 cameras filming the whole thing. So hopefully, you know, if we do find something, we can document it. You know, and
right. This will really be a highlight in your life for you. You know, so much fun.
I would like to have some little piece of the plane myself. If nothing else, a rivet, a bolt, or whatever, you know, even a shard of glass from the cockpit, you know.
Wow. And you never know what's buried out there. You just really don't know, you know. So
we've got a pretty good map that shows kind of where everything was. The tail section came off, like I said, you know, it was a few hundred yards away. And they went and looked at it. The military did. They didn't recover it. They left it. And some kids from I think not Austin P. Well, Bowling Green, Western Kentucky, took it, come and got it, and took it with them. And where it went from there, I have no idea. But I would love to find that. I'd love to find
maybe they're listening tonight, and maybe they're listening tonight, and somebody will get in touch with them.
I hope. Everybody's been trying to find it so far. You know, no luck. So it may have been scrapped out.
Oh my goodness!
There was part of it that was scrapped out. I think it was one of the fuel tanks. Yeah, it was the fuel tank that they found behind the church. Some guy found it a few days later and sold it for scrap.
Oh my goodness! Good grief! We've got a question that came in from a listener tonight. Is this also Julie? Okay, and what is that?
Julie would like to know what was the reaction of the family for you writing this book.
They love it. They are working good. They love it. In fact, I'm getting something from them all the time, telling me how much they appreciate me keeping
that's wonderful.
Grandfather's, you know, their grandfather's name alive, you know, and getting his story out there. Yeah, they love it. They do. Of course, Terry and Eric Mantell, the only 2 I have met of the family, you know. I think they're the only ones that are surviving. I think, you know. Of course, they've got children of their own too. But Terry and Eric, they're very supportive of me, help me all they can, and just, you know. So they're something else. They are something else.
Oh, this has been great.
I appreciate
Thank
their
you
support.
so much for sharing this. I can't wait to get that book. So, yeah, and so where can we get it?
It's available on Amazon right now.
Okay.
You can get one right now off Amazon. It's available in paperback, hardback. I said the paperback is $35. The hardback is $40, and you can get an ebook, I think, for like something like $10 or something like that.
Oh, awesome.
And,
Okay.
and I'm gonna work on trying to get somebody to do an audio book on it for me. I'll have to go in and take my manuscript and cut it way down and take all the pictures out and everything. But I'm gonna try to get somebody to do an audio book on it for me. So.
Oh, wow, that's neat.
My daughter did one on the Bell Witch I had done audio book. She did it for me.
Uh-huh.
She did a lot of work. She does a lot of work for voiceovers and things like that. She's done some work for Disney, a few things like that.
Oh,
And,
interesting.
she did the Bell Witch book and done an outstanding job.
Mm-hmm.
I'm not saying this because she's my daughter, but it is. It's excellent, So she did a great job on it.
Well,
So
that's good to hear.
I may get her to. I may try to employ her to get this one too. Maybe I don't know.
Oh my goodness, that's something. Yeah, 440
but
pages.
I'll also have these books when my copies come in.
Uh-huh.
When these come in, I get these reserved for this book signing. I may go ahead and just order another 25 while I'm at it, and I'll have them here at the house. So if somebody wants one, they can shoot me an email.
There you go.
My email address is ghosthunter911@gmail.com.
Okay. Ghosthunter911@gmail.com.
Right.
Okay.
And I also have a Facebook page called Soggy Bottom Creations Bookstore.
Okay, Soggy Bottoms Creations Bookstore.
I went in to change the name of that the other day, and
I like
couldn't
it.
remember my password.
Well, I like
We
it.
live off in a bottom. We're way out in the country, off in the bottom, and there's a little dry creek right beside our house. It stays dry all the time, unless it rains a lot. If it rains a lot, it gets pretty soggy. So we're off in the bottom. So that's where Soggy Bottom comes from.
Well, very good. I kind of like that
Broadery
name.
shop called Soggy Bottom, in Broadery Shop, So.
Uh-huh. Well, thank you so much for being with us tonight. We're a little bit past the hour, so oh my gosh, it's been wonderful. And
Thank you for having me. I really enjoyed it.
yes, and we will have you back as you go out and you talk about all this and bring home more information for us. So we're looking forward to it.
Well, I'm glad. I'm glad to get the word out there and keep his memory alive.
Amen. That's awesome.
I did go to a Franklin the other day. There's a memorial marker up there.
Oh,
right
yeah.
And the paint was all chipping off of it. It looked bad, It looked like it had the mange way it looked. And I went to Walmart and bought me some paintbrushes and a quart of paint and some tape and some plastic. And I went up there and I got it looking like a brand new one now. So.
Oh, that's so good to hear. That's
just a labor of
heartwarming.
love. It's the least I could do for him,
Yes, absolutely. And that was a question I had, and I had forgot to ask it earlier. Was there a marker there? So that's wonderful that you did that.
It's kind of hidden. It's kind of hard to find. You had run up on it by accident just about. There's a couple of restaurants there. You turn at McDonald's, and I think there's another restaurant. Then there's a Cracker Barrel, and it's kind of nestled back in the corner. There's a little building there the tourism bureau had, and it's their base. So it's not really out where a lot of people can see it, unless you know where it's at. But
well, maybe if you were to get a map, kind of pinpoint it on the map and put that in the next book so people can go see that. Know where it is. That's awesome.
And it's not but about maybe a mile and a half from a crash site. So
oh my goodness.
Crash site, it's kind of secluded, but
put the latitude and longitude on there and figure it out and put it in the book, and then people can go there and honor that site. And I think that's awesome.
So far, I've been honoring the wishes of the landowner right now, as far as not letting keeping down maybe I had a little bit of a discussion with the gentleman that owns the place. He had no problem with it. Just doing investigation, all that kind of stuff, and but his wife was kind of she couldn't decide where she wanted to do it or not. She said part of me wants to let it lie, let it go, but part of me wants to say yes, So I said, well, he is a true American hero.
Yes, absolutely.
And, his story needs to be out there.
Yes, it does.
too much history has been erased right now. You know, we need to put it out there.
That's
And
right.
she was getting pretty close to saying yes. And I told her husband, I said, I've got a book out here autographed for you and give it to you if you want me to. You know, it's my Eye in the Sky book. So I signed it to him, and next thing I know, she's saying, yeah, y'all can go for it.
Oh, that's wonderful. Well, thank you for doing that and
a little
pursuing
bribery
that.
never hurts.
No, absolutely not. There's no problem when you ask. Just, you know, that's all you can do, just ask.
Exactly.
Well, thank you again. And
Thank you.
yes, and remember, we'll have you back on. And just for those that are watching tonight, we do want to hear from you. We would like to know what you thought about tonight's show with Dewey. And if you want to be on the show next, or you know somebody that you'd like to recommend, email us at hauntedparis@usa.com. And we're also on Facebook at Paris Paranormal. And you can also find us on YouTube on our Enigmatic Anomalies channel at youtube.com at Enigmatic Anomalies. And if you'd like to see someone featured here, please reach out to us. Thank you so much for being with us tonight. And again, thank you, Dewey. Have a great night, you all.
Huh?